On July 18th, 1995, Suffer Hills, a dormant volcano, erupted for the first time in 600 years and began spewing thousands of metric tons of toxic chemicals and ash on the tiny island of Montserrat. If you don't know where Montserrat is, there is nothing to object to. It is a beautiful, luxurious patch of sand in the Caribbean Sea, controlled by the British government. Or at least it used to be beautiful within the next 4 days. The island would change forever. On July 19th, 1995, my unit was sent as part of an emergency rescue mission conducted by the British Royal Navy to get civilians out of danger. We were a small American military rescue team that to this day remains classified. For various reasons, I won't bore you with the details of the bureaucratic procedures for this story. You can call me Mr. Blue. We were very efficient in our ability to conduct business in unorthodox circumstances. The Royal Navy requested our expertise, and we mobilized quickly in preparation for our deployment. We had a briefing at the naval station Roosevelt Roads in Ceiba, located at the eastern end of the coast of Puerto Rico. Our position was ideal for quickly reaching Montserrat very well. Calm, said Mr. Green. Our executive officer activated a screen that showed a topographical view of the island, the volcano, and our target location for the search and rescue deployment. Mr. Green rubbed his short salt and pepper hair and gently adjusted a computer parameter to facilitate the vision we are going on. Another commander hunt. It has been a while since we went to Central America, said Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown was my squadron leader, and Kontmeister was a veteran of our unit, and he liked to joke at terribly inappropriate times. His uniform was obscenely tight on the arms, which made his biceps flex, to the point that I thought his stitches would pop. I'm afraid no boss is going to go into a hot zone. Soufriere Hills is in imminent danger of eruption. Satellite images show a huge heat signature on the island, and approximately 6,000 people still trapped in the capital of Montserrat, Plymouth. We must help the Royal Navy secure as many civilians as we can for a complete evacuation. He tapped on the screen with a long pointer. He pointed to the small town located south of the island next to the coast. I stared into space. A rescue mission. What's the trick? We never do things so simple. There's no trick. Mr. Blue, the British have asked for help, and we are here to give it to them as good neighbors. Turn to the page 3 of his mission report, said Mr. Green. The Montserrat Springs Hotel is being used as a staging area for civilians to wait to be picked up. That is where we will begin operations. While I was in the briefing, we were told that the volcano had begun to discharge tephra, a fiery cloud of fire over Pimu. The town was located just off the coast of Montserrat and nestled right against the volcano itself, and luxurious resorts and bungalows dotted the beaches. The tephra had severely damaged the structures surrounding Surfer Hills. Information was scant, but most of the pleasure craft had already evacuated the island itself, and whoever was left had no way out. There is one more thing, Mr. Green said. The HMS Broadsword detected an anomalous sound coming from the island. Their sonar operator said it sounds like massive rock collisions. It could be that volcanic activity is destabilizing the island. Own Island, Mr. Green played us the sound. It silenced all the small talk in the room. It was a soft, dull tone. It rumbled deeply and made the hair on my arms stand up. It was almost like rocks clashing together. Underwater earthquake, said Mr. Red. Oh yes, it was Mr. Brown. Why are you so excited? Do you want to be on a volcano and in an earthquake? I asked, have you never seen an island sink? This will be the third. Mr. Silver, our boatswain and technology guru, looked longingly at the screen. I wonder if I can get a good picture of it. That morning we left port, and by late afternoon we were near Montserrat, the huge thunderhead produced by the intense heat, and ash blotted out the sun. As we got closer, we could see the ash cloud 40 miles away as it was dragged. The wind was an ominous sight, and I couldn't help but be reminded of a previous mission to Mount San Orange rays, streaked through the night as Suffer Hills lit up the night sky with their tremendous power. The 12 men of the unit were standing on the deck of the USS Port Royal, a massive Ticonderoga-class cruiser that we were more than happy to hitch a ride on. The colossal 567-foot vessel was much better then, and what we were used to, we often found ourselves crammed into tiny spaces or hiding in reeds to be able to get in. We came ashore near Little Bay and quickly unpacked our equipment. We unloaded 4 Humvees but found them almost completely useless. The streets were badly damaged by the tremors and vehicle traffic was impossible. At that time, thick layers of ash covered the ground and formed huge piles of gray snow against the buildings. Smoke covered most of the streets of the idyllic Caribbean town. Although it seemed more like a small town than a capital, the intense heat rays provided the only natural lighting 2 days earlier. The power had gone out across the island. We would go on foot. Through uneven urban terrain, a 4.5 Guar tremor on the Richter scale shook the remains of windows and caused a small house to collapse on a nearby hill. The Humvees were advancing at a painfully slow speed of 8 kilometers per hour. On our way, we found several terrified civilians sheltering in a terraced house near the outskirts of the city. The lava had begun to flow without ceasing from the volcano, setting fire to wooden walls and threatening to split the city in two, which would compromise our search area. We split into 2 teams with 2 Humvees each. The deep rumble of the southern hills resounded in the air as a huge column of ash and soot rose, accompanied by lava bombs in the form of a ribbon, Mr. Silver, Mr. Gray, Mr. Black, and we headed in a Humvee towards the area closest to the lava flow, making sure that no one was trapped. Mr. Silver, always with his camera in hand, took several photos from the window. Hey, stop," said the gentleman Silver, nudging me. "I don't think this is the safest place to stop." I replied distrustfully. Just for a moment I saw something. We stopped, making sure to keep a safe distance from the river of lava flowing towards the town square. We walked a short distance to the base of the volcano. There Mr. Silver knelt in front of a small shrine embedded in the rock. Around the shrine were 5 corpses. All were charred and crushed by the stones with his camera. Silver took several photos, adjusting the focus carefully. "What is that thing?" asked Mr. Gray, pointing to a small stone figure in the center of the shrine. It seemed carved from obsidian, vaguely shaped like a gorilla. Its arms were disproportionately large, and its short, flat face was crowned by 2 blunt horns. The surface was worn by time, but it was clearly an ancient figure. "It looks like some kind of idol or fetish." "It is very old," answered Mr. Silver, as he read an inscription on a plaque at the base of the shrine. Cherufa wondered what it meant. Maybe I don't speak Spanish, Green said, shrugging his shoulders. Mr. Silver reached out to touch the softly textured figure. The ground shook slightly, and a feeling of unease ran through my body. He tried to lift it, but barely managed to move it a few inches before it fell to the ground with a dull rumble. "My God, this weighs a ton," Silver said, struggling to place it back on its pedestal. "You have your photos now. Let's go," I said, marking the areas already registered. "What is this near the center of the city?" "We haven't cleared it," I said, pointing to the map. It was the Catholic Church of Pimu Cristo. We hadn't been to church. The lava flow had already isolated it. A tremor shook the structure. A crack opened in the ground. "We have to. Let's go. This island will not hold, and I don't want to be here when it sinks," Mr. Brown said clearly. Anxious, a huge rumble shook the building as the volcano roared with greater intensity. "Mr. Silver and I will go on foot. We can go in, check quickly, and evacuate," I said to the group. "Please, we have to go now. Follow me." There was a strange moment of silence. Then I felt it, more than heard it. A soft purr, like a cat, was intensifying, until it vibrated in my eardrums. I tensed up, seeing the fear in the eyes of the civilians. "This is not good." I thought suddenly a jet of lava burst from the ground in front of me, reaching the roof, which immediately began to burn. The wooden beams bent and fell on the benches. Without hesitation, I grabbed the nearest child and began to move. I felt a tug on the rope that held them attached to me. They were trying their best to keep up with me. I saw the man carrying his youngest daughter, while his wife carried their youngest son. They all moved forward with difficulty, the yellow rope swinging around their waists. What happened next left me paralyzed. For an instant, the wooden floorboards, engulfed in intense orange flames, began to flex, to bulge, and finally break. Something emerged from beneath the structure. A geyser of lava erupted, blocking my eye vision completely. But in the middle of the fiery flow, I made out something else. There was something inside the lava. We ran out of the church, and it was then when I noticed that it had started to rain. This is not good either. I thought the combination of rain and volcanic ash had formed a dangerous mixture that advanced like an avalanche. But in the form of boiling mud as we ran down the street, the ground trembled beneath our feet, and the road began to crumble. As I looked up towards Surya Hills, I saw the reddish glow of the volcano, thick lava flows descending its slopes. Although most of the landscape was obscured by dense clouds of ash, an avalanche of mud broke loose quickly, burying the church under, a boiling mass of black and brown mud. We reached the town hall at full speed, where we climbed the last hambi and got into. All inside, the children were coughing and vomiting due to the polluted air, and the men fainted from exhaustion. My unit moved to Port Royal to evacuate. The crewmen were crowded on the upper deck, while the wounded were taken to the sick bay. When we set sail, we stood on the rear deck, watching in amazement. A gigantic cloud of smoke was swirling over the whole city. Plymouth was completely covered in ash. Then we saw something that froze our blood. A figure ran out of the cloud of dust towards the dock. It was a woman. Her clothes were in tatters, and her skin had a ghostly appearance. Covered in, and she was screaming and begging us to return. She was a survivor to the dock. "We have to launch a Zodiac," shouted Mr. Brown to one of the deckhands. But then we saw it. A huge shadow moved behind the bank of ash, pushing it away as if it were smoke. A giant, four-fingered hand, the size of a car, reached through the cloud and grabbed the woman like a doll. The creature looked like it was made of animated volcanic stone, with veins of glowing lava that ran through its dark skin. Each pulsation of those veins caused drops of lava to fall to the ground, while flecks of obsidian reflected the light. The woman began to scream as her body burned from the extreme heat. She was dragged into the cloud, and the orange glow illuminated her figure as the creature moved. Its posture was hunched, like that of an ape. Its body was bulky and grotesque, but the details were difficult to make out. It was then that we heard a monstrous moan, like the sound of stone being crushed. It was deep guttural, and seemed to come from the very bowels of the earth. It was not an earthquake, it was a roar. We remained silent as the Port Royal was moving away rapidly from Montserrat across the ocean. We could still hear that hellish roar. From time to time. Balls of fire lit up the coast, and in some flashes we managed to glimpse that unnatural thing moving in the middle of the volcanic storm. Mr. Green was the first to speak. Mr. Silver. "Your infrared camera, please." "I'm already on it, Captain," replied Mr. Silver while adjusting the viewfinder of a high-tech camera with a lens that looked more like a telescope than a tool for common photos. He took dozens of images as the island disappeared in the horizon. At the end, only the orange glow remained against the clouds. Most of the return trip passed in silence when arriving in Puerto Rico. I wrote a detailed report to file in our database in Puerto Rico. I'm sure it will soon collect dust like the others before sending it to me. Let's make sure. Codename Cherufe, Category 2. Location 16 GR 43 minutes, North 62, GR 11 minutes, West Exclusion Zone of Montserrat. Length 27 meters, height 15 meters, weight 350 tons, estimated status active